All right, welcome to this presentation. My name is Ariana Weijmans, and I will give a presentation of the use of epitweetr here at ECDC. So just for a little bit of background information, we first developed this tool for our use in the Epidemic Intelligence team at ECDC, and the Epidemic Intelligence is the early identification of potential health threats, as well as their verification, assessment, and investigation. And during this process of epidemic intelligence, we start with screening different sources of information. And one of the sources of information that we use is social media. We used to only do this manually, so we followed certain accounts from Twitter or Facebook, but now we have also created a way to automatically monitor social media, and this is focused on Twitter data. So why did we do this? We want to increase the sensitivity. This means we want before, with the manual way, we could only follow certain accounts that we were already following in Twitter. And now with this automated monitoring, we can detect the signals from different accounts and also different locations and places. It also reduces the human intervention because we're not dependent anymore on this pre-selected list of users, and the tool will alert us instead of us having to go through all the posts that each of these accounts that we were following posted. So now we will get an alert from the tool telling us, please have a look at this. Also, we improve the timeliness as because this tool continuously run, we have near real-time signal detection. So here we see a slide on the presentation of how we went from the prototype to what epitweetr is now. So we started in 2019, where we created a prototype of 3 diseases that we monitored for Twitter data, and this was manually, so we had to actually run the script every morning and get the outputs related to that. And then we also did a bit of an analysis, a study on how useful this actually was for our purposes. And as it seemed to be quite relevant and useful, we in 2020 started the development of the first official version of epitweetr, and this automatically actually analyzed the Twitter data for topics, time and place, and it also had an element of geolocation and signal detection that's made it that we would get automatic email alerts with the relevant information to us, as well as a shiny dashboard in which we could view our data. And this was all published publicly as an R package available for free. And throughout the process of the first development of epitweetr, we also already did a workshop to gather some feedback while we were still in the development phase. And some of you attended this workshop in 2020 now today. We also afterwards did an evaluation of this tool, focusing on the geolocation and the signal detection algorithm, and all of this feedback from the workshop, as well as the evaluation and our personal use, we have used to also partly already improve this version 1, but also in 2021 continue to develop epitweetr. So in the second version, we actually improved the architecture of the data storage and GDPR compliance, and we improved the algorithms for geolocation and signal detection with an option to actually train these algorithms. Another option, for example, is that we included URLs and hashtags in the alerts that you get from epitweetr. And now, finally, in 2022, we are in the third version of epitweetr that is currently in progress, and we're doing now another workshop again to get some feedback. So how can you actually have epitweetr installed on your computer? So there are 3 different ways. We have the option of using a manual personal computer. So this will mean that you can only have collect tweets and data or process data and send email alerts if your computer is actually turned on. And also every computer collects their own data, and this might provide slightly different results, but you can send emails to different accounts. We also have the option of a single virtual machine, and this will mean that you can actually connect to this external virtual machine that is turned on all the time, which allows you to actually continuously collect your data and send the emails, but only one person can be logged in at the same time. And then we have the final option, which is the option that we use here at ECDC, which is a shared virtual machine. What this means is that we have different accounts logged into this virtual machine. We have one admin user, we call that, and that is the person that runs the task in epitweetr, so that makes sure that actually the data is being collected and processed, while all of the other team members just log into the account and open the dashboard if needed, or go to where the data is stored if needed. And then how we have configured epitweetr itself. This means that we have set up specific queries for topics. So we have the general threat detection, and this is where we have set 20 unique topics with their relevant queries that follow also the ECDC mandate of what we need to search for. And we can add topics to this if needed. So for example, if a new outbreak occurs for some disease that is either unknown or it's new or something that we just were not following at that moment, we can add this. And this is, for example, done when the Ukraine situation was happening, or for the acute hepatitis or the monkeypox situations. We also have specific queries focusing just on COVID-19, because here we found that one query for this topic is not enough, because COVID-19 has been such a big topic and spoken about a lot, that we felt the general topic of COVID-19 did not always provide enough specific details. So we also created kind of sub-queries. This means that we create a topic, for example, called COVID-19 vaccine or COVID-19 variants. And then we would have more alerts come in through this way that were more useful than only the COVID-19 general query. Then finally, another configuration that we have for the topics is for mass gatherings. These are, contrary to the other topics that we set up for only a certain amount of time. So from 1 week before the mass gathering that we have determined to follow to 1 week after, we set up topics with relevant queries, and then we only run it for that period of time, and afterwards we discontinue this one. Examples of this were for the Olympics or the Hajj mass gatherings. So now to have a bit of a look at what we do on a daily basis for this epitweetr process. So we, to detect signals, so we start in the beginning with the first two steps. This is that these are actually automatic steps that as long as you have installed epitweetr, have set up all the requirements, the prerequisites requirements, and you have done your configurations as you wanted. So for example, the topics that I just mentioned before, then epitweetr will automatically monitor the Twitter data for topic, time, and place. And once a certain number of tweets surpasses for a topic and location the threshold that is determined by the algorithm, epitweetr will send an alert. So this will run automatically as long as epitweetr is turned on and set to run. However, now with this newer version since version 2, we can, if we want, put an extra step here and actually train the geolocation algorithm and the alert algorithm. And I will go and explain this a little bit more in depth here. So for the geolocation, at the moment at ECDC, we annotate for the geolocation about 20 tweets per month. So we have done that now for a couple of months. So we are around 200. But for this to really show a significant improvement, we need to do this a little bit more and to get at least around 1,000 tweets that we have trained in the annotations. So what do we do? Here below you see a little screenshot. So what you do is in the geolocation tab on the Shiny app, you can download or in the folder where it's saved, you can get the Excel file for the geolocation, and you can add extra tweets that you want to train to it. And then basically you, for example, here we have a tweet text for regarding COVID-19 and that Argentina registered some deaths for this. And what you then have to do is fill in whether there is a location mentioned in this piece of text, and then what word is the location. So here the location is Argentina, and then we fill that in and thereby train the database. And also what we see here at the end is whether epitweetr itself already, with the old algorithm, without this extra batch of training, how it matched this location. So before it actually did not match it. But for example, we see here above one where it did match. So one other option is also to the association with country code and association with. This is when you want to really force one specific location to always be associated with a country code, for example, or with a location. However, this does not really train then the database for different or associated locations. So you're kind of forcing it then instead of training the whole algorithm. So this should be done when necessary. Then finally, we also do alerts. And here we train about 25 alerts per month. This does not take much time, and we have now about 100 in total. And here we have found that actually very little training already increases the value of this a lot. And at ECDC we use the following categories for this: discard, unknown, information, signal, and event threats. Just for your information, these categories are can be determined by yourself in epitweetr in the training database. So you're not limited to these categories. You can create completely different categories if you wish to. So what we do again here, you can download the database for it, and then you can for each of the tweets alerts. So here we have an alert, for example, from February regarding gonorrhea in the United Kingdom. And you have different information for it, but here you have also, for example, the top tweets, and you see that this is regarding a new case of antibiotic-resistant gonorrhea confirmed in the United Kingdom. And then using this information, you can give it a category as you have predetermined yourself. So we have given it then a category, and then also you get what epitweetr had automatically categorized it as. In the beginning, if you haven't set up done any training or created any category, then this means, of course, that would be empty because the category variable is not yet available if you haven't done any training on the alerts. So then we get to steps 3 and 4 of using epitweetr. So as I mentioned, the step 1 and 2 are automatically running as long as you have set everything up. And only if you wish to improve it, you need to actually take any action using the training. But steps 3 and 4, you come in as an individual to use the human check. So here we actually check the alert, and you can do that through the email or the Shiny app. And then you will also check the variables in that alert and see if they fit your criteria. So for us working in the Epidemic Intelligence team, we check them for the EI filtering criteria. So here's an example of an email alert. So here on the 23rd of April, for example, we had an alert for Ebola in Africa, and you can see in the top words, for example, already that words like the outbreak, confirmed, Congo. So you already get a little bit of an idea about what this alert is about. And we also see that it already, because we have trained our database and set up certain categories, we get also the category here determined as event threat. And we see that we have 73 tweets over a threshold of 41.26. This means that we have had almost double of what the automatic signal detection algorithm determined as the maximum threshold. And then we also see that that we have some important users tweeting regarding this topic and region. So all of these variables kind of give you an idea already about whether this is a relevant alert or not. And you see similar information available on the dashboard below. So then if we want to actually check not just the variables, but go specifically into the related tweet for this alert or the URLs, we can do this as well. And one example, using the same example of the Ebola, was that if you looked under the top URLs, one of the URLs, for example, that was in there was in French this URL, and you see immediately below that if you would click on it, you would get the related media item in your internet browser. And it would immediately give a lot more information regarding this outbreak of Ebola in the DRC in the Equator region. But alternatively, you could also use the keywords that you found in the top words. So for example, if these are the top words, I could see that Equator outbreak confirmed might be interesting. So I simply go in my internet browser to Twitter, and in the search box I type these words, and then under the latest you see what was actually one of the specific tweets related to this alert, and they sometimes also even have links within the tweets embedded in there. If you don't want to be connected to the internet, or you don't want to use that to search, you can also search within your own collected data that epitweetr has been collected using an R function as shown here. So this is all just different ways that you can use according to your preferences, or whether there is more information in the top words or more information in the URLs. And once you have this information, you can continue to the we will show you now a few examples. So this is, for example, during our mass gathering screening for the Olympics. We see here an alert that we received, and that's actually, if you put some of the top words in Google, we received that this was regarding the Czech Olympic team that tested positive. And another example is also, you might wonder that if you predetermine all the topics for which and the queries for which epitweetr actually searches for Twitter data, you might not always be able to pick up other diseases. And sometimes this is true, but sometimes you can still get the alerts even though you do not have a specific topic or query set up for this. So one example for this is, for example, the recent situation with the monkeypox. So even though we did at the time not have a monkeypox topic with query set up yet, we did have one set up automatically for smallpox, and because some of the keywords in our query for smallpox fit with the monkeypox, we actually it still showed up. So we actually in the URLs you actually see automatically the official UK government link, for example, for the monkeypox that was confirmed there. And we saw that alert for in Western Europe. We also see for some alerts for other regions that where we had the keywords that were also already indicative of what was happening in this situation. And you can use this URL to immediately get the relevant information, and in this case even get a validated source of information using the UK. Then, of course, once you have gathered, you still need to continue your step for your relevant work. So for us in the Epidemic Intelligence team at ECDC, we have certain steps that we do with any kind of information we find. So whether that is media articles or social media, like coming from epitweetr. So we filter the information, we assess it to go through all of our regular steps and then document or share it if relevant. So this continues just like with any other source. So then we get to my final slide. So this is just to see a little bit of an overview of where we have managed to arrive now after all of these since 2020, when the first epitweetr version was actually published. Since then we have had 14,000 downloads actually, and a kind of small community has been created with not just ECDC users, but actually users from different organizations that have decided to download or install this for their purposes. So we see that not just international or national public health agencies have been using it. Also see some researchers using it, and although the focus at ECDC is on the infectious diseases, we also see that other users are actually using it for drug use and addiction or non-communicable diseases. So this shows kind of a little bit of the variety of the uses of epitweetr, and also the configurations that you can do to make it personally useful for you. So for example, by changing topics from infectious diseases to other topics with related queries. And we also see that quite a lot have downloaded epitweetr to kind of assess the relevance of their work, but there are also some already actually using it for their daily work or implementing it even in their team. And we even have some people that are using it to get inspired for developing other similar tools. And I think this is really nice to see people get inspired by each other, and that is also the beauty of having a tool that is freely available for everyone and that they can adapt to their uses. So thank you very much for joining me here today for this presentation, and wish you a nice day. Thank you.